Hi everyone, I'm back with another episode. Here today is Justine and Paul from the Air Ambulance. Obviously, a charity that means a lot to me as they're saving my life. So I'm going to hand over to you guys to explain what your roles are and how we first met Paul.
Okay, so morning. I'm Justine Alexander and I'm the Clinical Liaison Officer for the Air Ambulance Service, and I deal with all our patients and families in aftercare and ensuring that their journey with us doesn't stop at the doors of the hospital or the scene of an emergency. And that's just to ensure that we can offer that extra level of support once our crews have been with our patients and families on scene.
Hi, and I'm Paul. I'm one of the critical care paramedics based out of the Warwickshire and Northamptonshire base, which is where we are today. I operate both on the aircraft and on the car when the aircraft's offline, and bring in critical care and hospital-based care to patients at the roadside and out in the community.
Yeah, and obviously, I wasn't conscious when I first met you. But if you could tell people a bit about the mission back in 2018, and so people get a feel for the work you guys do and the importance of keeping you guys in the area.
Yeah, of course. So we'll say back in 2018, on duty Coventry base with Dr. Imogen Virgo and our pilot. We had the emergency call come through from West Midlands Ambulance to a report of a male at a golf course who was unconscious and believed to be in cardiac arrest. We took the details, we're out on the aircraft, lifted from the time of the call to actually being airborne and en route. It was about just over 2 minutes we were en route to the flight time of around 7 minutes, if I remember rightly. And as we came across the golf course, we could see people gathered near the car park. So we managed to land pretty close and got across to you. And if I remember rightly, you'd unfortunately been in cardiac arrest, had CPR by bystanders, had got a pulse back at that point, and then it went again as we arrived. So we started CPR, got your pulse back, and then managed to actually keep that sustained with some of the drugs we were carrying. So we kept that going. We anaesthetised you on scene so that we could make sure that your oxygen delivery to your brain was maintained. So we were protecting your brain. Assisted by the land crews, we actually went by land because you were so unstable at that point to the nearest appropriate hospital, maintaining that anaesthesia in you and maintaining your brain and your heart function. And then we handed over to the hospital, and then I met you again a few years later at your fundraising event, which I think was a bit emotional for both of us.
Yes, it certainly was, and any time you obviously talk about it, because for anyone who's had an incident like this, you don't remember the day. You're obviously too unwell, and I don't know whether your mind protects you. You don't remember your experience. I don't even remember most of my time in hospital. The amount of funny stories I've heard of some of my behaviour while in hospital that I don't remember, which I'm definitely not going to share on air, is yeah, there's quite a few, but it's it's always amazing when you go through the time that you're literally in the air in 2 minutes, on the way within seven, and yeah, okay, the people who perform CPR from I'm in the car park happen to be nurses on a break from a conference. I mean, there was a lot of things that was unlucky that day, but a lot of things that was lucky for me as well. I'd always be grateful to as well, but it just shocked me afterwards when you told me you don't get NHS funding, and without you guys, why I wouldn't survive, because the chances, the percentages of surviving a cardiac arrest outside of hospital are slim,
Yep.
as you know. So yeah, it's just so, and the number of rescues you do. How many do you do on an average day?
So an average day. So we've actually got from what we call the HEM service, though the helicopter emergency medical service. We've actually got two bases for our charity. So we've got the Warwickshire Northamptonshire one here, and our sister service at Derbyshire, Leicestershire, and Rutland, based just upon the Leicestershire Nottinghamshire borders. And between us, we average probably around 10 cases per day. That's both on aircraft and car, which doesn't sound a lot, but the level of intervention we bring and the skill levels and what we're actually doing, actually our cases can be quite protracted. So, a single case can be an hour to 2 hours each time. So that sort of brings that into perspective. As you say, you're right, we're not funded by the NHS at all. We are funded by charitable donations, fundraising, events like you've put on yourself. We have a number of shops around the counties, around the 5 counties that we predominantly cover, and things such as wills and legacies bring our funding in. We work very closely with the NHS, and all the patients we attend come through the NHS ambulance services to start with. So, we're tasked by the NHS. And yeah, the one thing I would say is being an independent organisation allows us to make decisions that we believe are best for the organisation, best for the patient. So in terms of equipment, if we think something is the best piece of equipment for what we do, we're not tied in for not being able to purchase through funding streams. We go and get that. So yeah, it does have some benefits.
Yeah, amazing though how many different charities I speak to that the NHS gives work to or demands resources from, but just can't afford to fund. I'm sure the NHS would love to give you some money, but I don't believe it's a thing that they don't care. They just don't have enough budget. And I guess probably when I first spoke to you, Justine, and got an understanding, and you told me how much each mission on average costs. It's 2,300. I presume it might have gone up since then. I remember just thinking, wow, well, I need to at least raise 2,300. I've got to pay for my trip. And that's kind of where it started. And I guess that's why I would encourage people. Not everyone has the time or resources or network to arrange events, but I'd like to see more of your past patients come to our charity nights, and whilst getting a great night out, helping a way to save more people, because I notice you out a lot more than I used to pay attention to it. So yeah, is that still the cost? Is it 2,300?
Yeah, we're still averaging on £2,300 per mission, and that is like over the missions. Not every mission costs that amount because of the equipment that's used and the time and things like that, but that is averaged out. But another thing you did for us, Dave, which is really important as well, some people obviously in these times can't afford to donate and things like that, but you gave your patient story. And for us, that is a really key thing that we can use, because we learn so much from our patients and families, for our future patients and families, and being able to read your story on the website and your recovery and how you recovered is so key for the recovery of our new patients and families coming through. So even if people can't afford to give and aren't in a position to give, if they're a past patient or a family member and they can share their story with us, then that's really helpful as well. And we appreciate people give away their privacy like you have when you share your story. It's the knock-on effect, and it's bigger than people actually think.
Yeah, I think I've almost found it quite therapeutic though, and it's certainly been good for Sonia to and see you guys, and she certainly found it really emotional when she met you and Imogen back at that first charity night. But to bring the kids to base as well, even though they're still quite young and they don't fully get it, they do to an element, and I think from that side, it's nice for a patient to have that element of the experience. And the more people you do that with, the more people will want to give back. I've been roped in to do a talk at a legacy event in September. But when they asked me, I was like, I can't say no, yeah, that's fine, I'll come and do it. And yes, when you go through what happened that night, it's never a comfortable conversation. Each year I've stood there while you've done your speech at the charity night, I felt myself starting to go. But I do think it's important that people know how important your services are, but also know you can come back from pretty horrific incidents and get back to what I would say is pretty normal life now. I don't feel inhibited too much by my medical condition, and if we can raise funds and get the message out that you can recover and you don't need to wrap yourself up in cotton wool too much, then giving a little back and helping some one or two people, that's worth that discomfort for me for 10 minutes, really.
Yeah, and then, but the unfortunate side is, Dave, that we don't actually save everybody. You know, the missions that we go to, unfortunately, the downside is that some people don't survive. But we are here to support those families as well, the bereaved families, and their welfare and care afterwards, and support is just as important as the people that do, you know, manage to pull through and get on with their lives and their families surrounding them. So it is that broad spectrum of. It is amazing to be able to support the people that you know that survive and carry on with a normal life, but also the bereaved families as well. So we do touch everybody, you know, that has gone through the trauma. But we are aware that people are traumatised, and we need to protect them as well.
They need support more because they, you know, it's a lot easier to support someone who's had a positive outcome. I mean, some people, yeah, it's just horrific, isn't it? It's unthinkable, but the things that you get called to are those traumatic circumstances. You don't get called out because someone stubbed their toe, do you? You get called out because there's a bad road traffic accident or a cardiac arrest, or they're always life critical situations.
Times of their lives.
Yeah.
So, you know, but they're to support afterwards. And that's why it's really important that, you know, what you're doing as well to promote the charity and the funding and help us raise that awareness, as well as raising the money that we need to keep flying, really, and keep these guys in the air in the helicopters and on the cars.
I didn't even that. It's getting the understanding of that you don't fly at night. You know, you just think you're the air ambulance. Of course, you fly all the time, but you know, understanding that it was around flying hours and continuous training and the cost of that. But then you've provided the vehicles which get out to people way quicker than a land ambulance would. So, how many cars do you have now?
So again, we have at each base we have our operational car, so that's always fully kitted, ready to go. So if we get a local job, we can just grab a couple of bits we need off the aircraft on the car and go. And then after the aircraft comes offline when it goes dark, we've got the one car fully kitted that will then run through the rest of the night. But we then have our spare vehicles, so if anything happens, as it does with mechanical things can go wrong. You know, tyres get nails in them. We've got spares, we can swap straight onto that to try and make sure we give that continuity of service all the time.
Yeah, and presumably your average time of getting to a patient is just quicker than a road ambulance because of the backlog of calls they've got.
There's also an element of the type of calls we cover are only like a tiny percentage of the overall calls for the ambulance service. So we're targeted to specific calls, as you've already mentioned, things like, you know, your road accidents where people are trapped or have been thrown from a vehicle. Got a lot of the cardiac arrest calls, industrial incidents, falls from height, those type of calls. And we're targeted. So sometimes our travel time may be slightly longer than an ambulance, but we're a very specific team targeted to those jobs with the critical care skills and equipment and interventions that we do. So, but yeah, the cars are quite rapid.
It's about getting the team to the mission, to the incident, and getting the team what would be in hospital to the scene to enable that care for the patient.
Yeah, and that was another area over the years I've learned yourselves around the children's air ambulance, that whilst the air ambulance deals obviously accidents in critical situations for everyone, but it's a critical service for moving the right medical team to a child and moving the child to the right hospital for the medical team without being stuck on the road on our lovely motorway system for absolute hours. It's all these things people are just not aware of. We're all blissfully unaware, aren't we, until we need something. How kind of underfunded or undersupported things are, really.
Yeah, and the Children Air Ambulance is just another sort of arm of our charity, and that's a national children's air ambulance. And exactly what you've said, I couldn't have worded it any better myself. We move sick children from one hospital to another with a team, and it could take an hour in a helicopter where it could take 5 or 6 hours in a land ambulance. So yeah, it's just another arm of the charity. This again comes under the air ambulance service, but it is separate to the HEM. So we're the yellow helicopter HEMS, and then the children's is the green one.
Oh yeah, it's just another thing people don't realise you have to do. To be honest, I remember when I came to base and there was the big map and all the planned trips and journeys going on, and a lot more to it
It's
than I can
really,
initially
basically,
thought.
it's proving really crucial at the moment, not just for our patients and families, but for the crews to be able to see, their patients walk back in the door like yourself and meet them, and it's closure for our patients and families, but it's also great to be able to show them how it all works, and it's certainly part of the recovery process. And we're in the process of, when you came to base, we didn't have a family room. We're in the process of trying to get a family room in place. So just to make the visits a little bit more comfortable, and they can, as you know, they can be very emotional. So to have that safe space as well, and also to protect our crews. We don't know what job they've just come back from when we have patients and families in base. So a bit of a double whammy really, to ensure that everyone's welfare is priority. But it's proven really beneficial.
I imagine if you come back off certain missions, you need a little bit of space to get your headspace ready to go again. Yeah, it's certainly not a job I could do. Besides the fact that I'm incredibly squeamish, so the sight of blood is no good to me. But I just couldn't. Yeah, I'd find it really emotionally tough. I think it's the fact that you guys can do that and take all these things in your stride.
I think we've got a really good support network around us as a team. There's so much welfare support, and we all have a little bit of a dark sense of humour sometimes, and we laugh, and it's not a disrespect to anybody, but that's how we get through it. And the support we have from the management and things like that, if it's needed, is just immense because of the work that's being done. So every day is different, but we all have coping mechanisms and learn how to deal with things, and you just don't know what's going to come next, really, do you? So,
Although to be fair, for me, I think that's what I really enjoy about the job, is that no day is the same, no incident is the same. From a day where you may do one call and get stood down to a day where you're out constantly, they're just different. And for me, that's what makes the job, working with the teams.
It certainly isn't. You can't be accused of having a dull, peaceful job, can you? But in terms of how people can support the charity, I know different to by the podcast you guys are from the fundraising team, so I usually pepper them with loads of questions about how we can donate. What is the best way people can get involved with just regularly supporting the charity?
and there's lots of ways. So online, there's a general donate button. You can sign up to the lottery. There's raffles. I think there's just a monthly direct debit to support. Legacy and wills is massive for us. People leave money in their wills and things like that. In memory, if anybody's lost something, you can do an in memory page and support. And then there's the things like you do, the fundraising events, whether it's a cake sale or a huge black tie do like you do. And then also on our website, there are some larger events that we run. So we're doing the rugby half marathon in October. And there's some skydiving events if you feel a bit like a daredevil, and some other events. But it's all on our website. So, any support is welcome, whether it's 50p or £50,000, every little penny helps us keep that helicopter and these guys in the sky. So, there's lots of ways to donate and help if they can. And sometimes you see people shaking tins outside Sainsbury's or wherever, a little bit of change. And the awareness as well it brings is really important. And like I say, patients, if they want to share their stories as well, generates that knowledge behind the service.
There's a couple of people at work that was banging on last year saying they quite fancy doing a skydive. So I know who I'll be talking to this afternoon, Kate.
Yeah.
What you can do. Stop saying you don't know where to do it.
Yeah. It's all online.
Yeah. No, I'll stay in a perfectly good helicopter. I'll stay in a perfectly good helicopter. I'm not jumping out of planes.
Yeah, well, obviously on medical grounds, I wouldn't be allowed. Otherwise, of course, I would. I'm terrified of heights. You got no chance of me doing anything like that.
But also things like corporate sponsorship and things that help us if we can have things sponsored and things like that as well. There's so many different ways to help and support. It's just down to personal preference and choice.
I would obviously be a big advocate for anyone who wants to support him. We will we'll do our annual do every year. We raised 18,000 last year. We're trying to raise 23 this year.
Amazing.
That's why I'm glad it's still 2,300, because the idea was trying to pay for 10 missions in a day, but you could have destroyed my maths on this
Yeah, at the
figure,
moment
to be honest.
yeah, and we came to the do last year and it was amazing. The support from it is brilliant, so we do appreciate it, and we appreciate the support that you do.
No problem at all, and I'll always feel in your guys' debt. So yeah, my wife has, in the right way, has a lot of love for you, Paul. So yeah, definitely.
We've probably only just touched on the tip of the iceberg, Dave, of what we could tell you about the charity and what we do and things like that. So, just being able to have this platform as well is really important. So, thanks for the opportunity to do it.
No problem. No, I appreciate you coming on. To be honest, it's always good to chat to both of you. So, yeah, everyone, go on the website, figure out a way that suits you to donate. Even if it's enter their lottery, you might win yourself some money. But yeah, get involved, support them, including your companies. Pick them as a corporate sponsor. That's what we do. So, no, thanks again for coming on, guys. Appreciate it.
No, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.